So then I guess for the next part, what if things get a little bit crazier? Like, well, not crazier, but let's say things get a little bit more stressful. So let's say you have problems with body image. Let's say you don't really have friends to talk to. Let's say you break up with someone. Let's say it's kind of more of these stressful things. It's not like you got a bad grade on a test or you missed the bus or something like that. Like, it's something that you have more of an investment in. What are some ways to kind of deal with that, do you think?
I mean, I think these things are always hard because like everybody's experience is always going to be very specific to themselves, and I kind of want to try and cover everything while realizing I can't cover everything. I think like an example for me, like breakups were the hardest thing for me because of BPD and fear of abandonment and things. Like I'd be literally like at rock bottom, and I think what helped, again, weirdly music, to a point where it kind of helped express and kind of let the emotions out. But I think also recognizing that I needed to be around people a lot more. Like, so if it was a breakup, I'd make sure that I went and stayed with a friend for a weekend if I could. Or even if it's just, okay, I see somebody every day, even if it's not all day, I have a thing every day to see somebody. I think also, like, I think this is where like social media or things like YouTube videos or anything, like sometimes they can help if you kind of cater what you're looking for. You know, if you do have a good supportive community like on Discord, you know, Twitter, kind of engage yourself in that and maybe share if like you feel comfortable as well. Or so I think the issue is, I think it's like trying not to trigger other people while also not silencing yourself, which is quite a hard thing to kind of get the balance with. But at the end of the day, I think it's also like the right friends will listen if they can. I think obviously again, like they need to be like, okay, are they in the right headspace? But I think also like with body image issues, I think sometimes I think again, especially social media, curating that a lot more and being like, okay, there's these fitness accounts that I follow that's doing me a lot of damage, unfollow that. I don't know, I think like, so I do have body image issues, but it's not something I personally worked on yet. So I don't really have any answers for that, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So I guess the couple of things that I had here, and this actually, I feel like I learned all of this from other people, but I feel like the one quote that I really like about going back to breakups first is, someone is out there for you while you're fixing yourself. I like that thought. I think that's pretty positive, that even though, even if you go through a breakup and even if you may have some issues and you're worried about relationships in the future, having that thought that someone else is out there while you're fixing yourself, I think that's positive, and I like that. And then as far as body image goes, the best thing I actually heard came from a trans woman, and she is probably 60, so she was around, in the 80s and beyond. And she said that if you're struggling with body image issues and seeing yourself and feeling comfortable in your own skin, then find someone out there, whether that's an artist, whether that's someone in a TV show or wherever, and kind of not live your life, but kind of imagine yourself in their shoes and take a moment to kind of have an out-of-body experience where you're listening to, like Grace Jones or Sylvester or other, those are 80s people, but people who you think you really connect to and kind of see yourself through them. Because I know for a lot of teens, for a lot of people in their 20s, they may not have access to hormone therapy or whatever it may be. It could be like they feel like they're overweight. There's so many other issues that go into body image. But seeing yourself through that person can help a little bit, because it gives you an idea of kind of where you want to be and what does feel comfortable to you and what not will make you happy, but what does make you happy currently. So that was her suggestion, was to kind of see yourself through someone else.
I think I did things like that a lot. I think there were some like TV characters where I'm like, oh, They seem very relatable. I relate to them. And sometimes even just watching their growth throughout like seasons of a TV show or something, I'm like, oh, you know, they were able to stand up for themselves. I think just going back to the breakup thing, one thing I learned in recovery, which has been really helpful as well, is personal responsibility. And that, so while I'm responsible for my thoughts, my feelings, my behaviors, my actions, I'm not responsible for other people's. And so, like, for example, if it is the end of a breakup or something, it's like, okay, well, I tried my best. What are the lessons I can learn from this? I think even with like my current relationship, for example, like, it's the healthiest relationship I've had. It's the first relationship I had after a breakdown a few years ago. And very early on, it was quite kind of unstable because I had those walls up. I had those kind of trust issues, or kind of looking for red flags and things that probably isn't a red flag. Because, you know, I'm kind of like, hey, this was an issue before. So I think quite early on had like a sort of like PTSD sort of trigger thing, because my partner's room was the same color as my ex-partner's. And so it made me feel like I was in the same situation, and I kind of like exploded and had another kind of like meltdown and things. But, you know, I think because we've been together for like over a year now, I think there's been a lot where I've had to, but I think what really helped though was having a partner that supports your recovery or growth. And I think that includes friends as well. I think while you do need to push yourself, you don't want to push yourself too far. And you also don't want other people to tell you should push yourself even more. And so it really helps with my partner if I say, you know, like, I'm not feeling up to this today. You can still go, like, whether it's like a friend, like his friend's house, or we're going out somewhere, and I'm like, I'm not up for it, but I'll stay at home. Or even just kind of building trust as well. I think I had a lot of like dismissive partners or kind of shady partners where they would kind of be like, oh, well, you just have to trust me. And I'm kind of like, okay, well, give me a reason to. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, they gave a reason why I shouldn't have trusted them in the first place. So now I kind of see that as a bit of a red flag, like, oh, you want blind trust despite knowing my past. And this is the other thing as well. I think, you know, I think with gay culture, for example, I think there's a lot of problematic behaviors where they kind of get excused a bit in the gay community, I find. Or it's like, oh, well, yeah, your partner cheated, but maybe it's because he wanted an open relationship. I'm like, yeah, but we weren't in an open relationship at that point. He still cheated. He still needs to be held accountable for that. I think there's a lot of stuff, I think, within gay culture where then we will gaslight ourselves or call ourselves too sensitive because the community, in a sense, is gaslighting you. Yeah, so I think that can add another layer to your mental health, or how you try and perceive stuff. Because you think, oh, well, the community at large says this isn't a problem, so there's something wrong with me to think this is a problem. When everybody's kind of individual.
Yeah, and you know, the best quote that I actually heard about the gay community is, if you're looking for Prince Charming, you should act like Prince Charming. And I think that really resonated with me, because it's like, you're not gonna find him if everyone is behaving this way, if everyone is you know, there are these mixed messages, or like in your example, cheating. I think open relationships are really big, and that it's more acceptable in the gay community, but you're right, there still are boundaries that need to be respected.